Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Velocity Kinetics. This is episode number 5 or 6, I do believe. Today's episode, after the Hungarian Grand Prix, I want to talk about Button. This is a bit on Button. He's been in news or the rumour mill recently for X, Y and Z, through things that Ron Dennis has said, through things Button has fairly retaliated with. And if you're a Hamilton Uber fan, or someone who's just not a fan of Jenson Button, then please go away, watch another video. If you're just going to troll with horrible comments about Button, I don't care. You can do what you want, but I do not care what your opinion is. If my opinion is different to yours, that's the end of the discussion. Now, before I go any further, I must apologise about any ambient noise, because we've got the windows open. It is absolutely baked in here. I do apologise if I might hear a bit on the warm side, but it is absolutely boiling in my flat today. It's been absolutely glorious weather in Middlesbrough, but obviously with that comes ambient noise and strange behaviours, and I've got a new computer which I haven't quite sussed out whether it's running at the right noise level or otherwise, but we'll go from there. Now, what I want to discuss about Button is, well, how do we put it? Ron Dennis has been less than complimentary to him recently, in the sense that he said Button needs to try harder, and Button's had a very fair, very right retaliation of, we need to improve as a team, not just as a driver. Now, Ron Dennis has resumed the helm of McLaren. Button was brought in under Martin Whitmarsh, which was perhaps the best move that team had made for a number of years, aside from obviously bringing in Hamilton and Alonso. It was a very smart move. It was a very successful partnership. I don't think any other partnership could have gotten close to the Red Bull, Renault and Vettel partnership that was going on at the time. The only other partnership maybe is Ferrari and Alonso, but as an entire team, that setup went through. Now I think what's happening at the moment is Ron Dennis is wanting to remove all traces of Whitmarsh from McLaren. Now I can understand why, in the sense that the 2013 car was a pile of crap, but that said, they went and did what they did all over again, and that was completely try and redesign the wheel when what they had from last year was the fastest car at the end of the year. They just needed to adapt rather than rebuild. And they also, McLaren did not do the best thing in the sense that they brought in someone who's still a little too green. They didn't do a wise sign like a Hülkenberg or a Bruno Senna. They brought in someone who's still very green in the form of Perez, which Perez is quick, no doubt about it, and a good asset for any team, but he's one of these drivers, he's going to need a lot more time than others, I think, to mature. Now, the fact that Button has a reputation for the car only being to his liking in a certain manner is one that, yes, I admit, is a very major flaw in the guy. You can give Hamilton any car and he'll drag a performance out. You can give it Alonso, well, you just need to see what Alonso's doing with the 2014 Ferrari F14T. It's a turd box, unfortunately, and look at what he's managing to do with it, versus what McLaren are doing with an equally bad turd box. Button he's the fastest driver on the grid, but when the car and everything is all one, as demonstrated by some of his victories at McLaren in 2010, 11, 12, all of those things, it was either in mixed conditions or he was just at one with the car. Now, that's not perhaps the best thing to have in a driver, but his consistency, his silky smooth way of driving, it's kind of on the parts. So you give you one, you take with the other. Personally, as I said, I've always liked Button. I always liked him a lot particularly his BAR Honda days. Whilst I paid attention to what Hamilton was doing, I think it was good to see at the time having a Brit up front. I've always supported Button. I was immensely happy when he won his championship with Brawn. I know that the various people in the Fan Formula project are quite large fans of his. Let's say he's a very well liked guy. He's very relaxed. He's very honest. And unlike some people like Hamilton, when he doesn't do well, unless it's something that you can lose and try and remain professional. There are occasions where it's just not going to happen. End of discussion. You can try and be calm, level-headed all the time, but there will be that one time when you will snap. But Button, for the most part, is quite communicative and very honest and upfront, which is nice to see. My concern is, this is a point that a lot of the snot-raggy little trolls have made, but it is nonetheless one that is very, very true. I feel at the moment. For some reason, I just think Button's not going to be at McLaren next year, and I think that's a shame. Button has worked with Honda before. He knows their way of working. I think it would be great for him to either finish his career at McLaren Honda, because I think the next contract Button signs, unless it's only a one-year deal, I think the next contract Button signs is going to be his last. But it's a question of what should Button do. Now, where on Dennis is going, I don't think Button's going to be at McLaren at all, not through Button's choice. Well, at the moment, not through Button's choice. Button has made it very clear his commitment to McLaren. He's all over, he's very good with the sponsors. He's all over the Santander stuff, which, from personal relations and things, it's everywhere. So it's not like he's anti the corporate way of something. It's not like he's anti the corporate methodology or corporate methods of McLaren. Personally, they're a company that to me are too corporate and need to loosen up a bit. But there we go. So the question is, where does he go from here? Now, as I've said, I think it makes some sense to keep him with them with Honda coming back in with McLaren. Keep some more stability in the team, particularly after a god-awful season that they're having at the moment. I think it would certainly be worthwhile. Now, there is also a good point. People are going on all out about Magnussen at the start of the season. There is a reason why Button, last time I saw the score chart, that Magnussen has 37 points and Button has 60. There is a reason behind that. Now, there are rumours that McLaren are wanting Alonso back. There's rumours that they're trying to snap to nab Vettel. Who knows what's going to happen? It's the F1 rumour mill. So, yes, one option for him may be to stay at McLaren. Another option may be for him to try and sidle into Williams, sort of make that his last, sort of go back to the team that brought him in initially, and finish it off there. But I think what might be a good option to look at. Now, I'm sure in the past, and I've tried doing some internet research, and I can't find anything that supports what I believe what I thought had happened. So I'm going off something I'm pretty sure it had happened previously, but I can't find any internet articles about it. I'm sure that Ferrari have previously made an attempt to try and get Button. Granted, that would have only been to have been the second driver, probably, but even so, I'm sure they've made the attempt. I think maybe a move to Ferrari might be a good one for Button, because he's relaxed, laid back. He's got the right sort of mentality that Ferrari need. Be very good, particularly tying in with the Santander branding. Excuse me. As I mentioned in the written blog I did a couple of weeks ago, the way Santander is built in the UK, it would be important to try and keep the tie-in. Now, I'll just quickly have a quick run through, just so people don't want to sit and read. Santander is part of Banco Santander. Banco Santander is Spain, obviously. Then the Santander UK, which is all parts Banco Santander, but Santander UK is registered separately. So if one goes, the other one's unaffected. Now, Santander UK is made up of Abbey National, which used to be all over the McLarens that Hamilton started driving. It's got Abbey National, Alliance and Leicester, the two big ones that it's made up of. Within that, Abbey National owned the very old National Provincial, which is very old and very gone for a long time. And the National Provincial owned a company called the Burnley Building Society, so that's quite a lot that Santander already own via one company. Alliance and Leicester used to be the Leicester Building Society. Leicester Building Society apparently used to own, or Alliance and Leicester, used to own, or did own, the Gyro Bank. That's a huge amount of company and business that Santander got into through those. Plus, Santander also owns the savings accounts from Bradford and Bingley. So that's a huge part of the UK marketplace, and it's important, I think, for Santander to remain advertised on a UK team. Whether that's catering still a UK team, but it's like on Lotus or on Caterham if they are, or on McLaren or on Williams. But I think it's important that they're somewhere where there's a British tie-in. A Button to Ferrari would work with that tie-in, I think. and I think it would probably be the last contract that Button would sign. So there's the option of going to staying at McLaren, being with Honda. There's the possibility of trying to sidle into Williams. Massa's committed after this season. He's committed for 2 more seasons. I'm not sure what Bottas's contract is like. Not sure whether Williams is going to try and bring Susie Wolff through, which would be great to see, but who knows? And then obviously, but like I said, the reason why I keep mentioning Ferrari, there's obviously problems at that team, and Alonso and Raikkonen, they seem to be getting on okay as teammates. Problem is the car. Some people are questioning Raikkonen's drive, as in, does he still have the motivation? Some people are saying Alonso's looking to jump ship. He's not going to stay at Ferrari. He was promised all these great accolades, which just haven't happened, which is fair news. He is an immense driver, and I think he's probably one of the greatest drivers the sport has ever seen. It's just not recognised with the number of championships he could have won by now. But you roll the dice and you end up where you are. You don't know whether the team's going to build you a turd box. You don't know whether they're going to build you an absolute supreme machine like the Tyrrell cars that Sajaki Stewart drove when they first came through, whether like the Brawn car, like some of the old McLarens or the old Williams vehicles. No, you don't know what they're going to be like until they roll out the garage at that first test. So you might have thought, right, Ferrari's the way to go. But you get to the first test, you're bottom of the timesheet. Heck, next year Marussia could have the fastest car. That's how uncertain Formula 1 is. Or Caterham could. Technically probably not possible, or Lotus could, because I think they've already abandoned development on the E22. Aside from some scheduled upgrades, the E22 is going to be the vile vehicle it is, and hopefully 2015's vehicle is a massive improvement. But it's unknown until the car rolls out the garage. The only other option that may be possible is Red Bull. However, there's been talk that Vettel has been linked with Mercedes, and that he's been linked with McLaren, and there was also talk a while ago, which could still very realistically happen, that he's been linked with Ferrari. Who knows what's right there? The problem is though, those links are outside of Vettel's contract with Red Bull, so Button has to hang in there somewhere. What seems a very likely scenario for me is Raikkonen might be let go by Ferrari because he's having a lot of difficulty with the car, and they might bring in someone else. That said, there's great talent that could do with the Ferrari job, like Hulkenberg, Jules Bianchi could do with the drive. Veren has done very well recently. He could potentially, maybe not worth a full-time Ferrari drive, but for some consideration. Perez has been linked with Ferrari previously because he is or was a Ferrari Academy driver. So there are a lot of different options available for Button. Who knows? My personal opinion is he should look towards Ferrari. I don't think he's going to be wanted very much longer inside McLaren, which deeply saddens me, because the things that McLaren could have achieved if they'd stopped redeveloping the wheel every year. I blogged about this a couple of years ago with, I think it was with Netcars or Pure Racing Fuel, one of the two, but McLaren had a history of redeveloping the car every year. Rather than just sort of making a few modifications, they went away, built a new one from scratch, which made no sense. They got it wrong with the 2013 car. So far the 2014 car has not been very good. That said, if the Mercedes were not that far ahead, who knows? McLaren's problem is they need 2 experienced drivers, so the only thing that, having just thought about it actually, I just thought this was coming to my head, the only thing that might happen is Button may stay at McLaren, but he will very much be the number 2 driver, which isn't fair. I hope Button can find a drive though. I hope he and McLaren can come to some sort of arrangement, because I'm not sure how much longer Button's contract's up at the end of this year. So hopefully he can soon tie in again with McLaren until the end of his, I think the next one he signs is going to be the last one he signs. So until the end of his racing career, he's stated more than once he wants to stay at McLaren for that. Or he can find a nice drive, let's say, at a team like Williams, or a coming team like Williams, If Lotus can prove they're going to improve, then maybe Lotus, perhaps Ferrari, maybe not so much Red Bull. Like I say, I think the most likely scenario is staying at McLaren or possibly a move over to Ferrari, which is something EJ in his crystal ball does not seem to mention as a possibility. There is one other possibility which I haven't mentioned, which is just as realistic and on my mind, is that he'll just have an exit like Rubens Barrichello did from the sport. Yes, I'll get a drive. Yes, I'll get a drive. Where's Rubens? No one gave him a drive. I don't want to have the Button. I don't want everyone to be a Button like, I'll get a drive, I'll get a drive, I'll get a drive. And we'll get to testing in Jerez next winter and be like, where's Button? We'll get a drive. Which would be sad. And he's had, with the start of the season he's had with the questionable car, the death of John Button, which is why some parts of this, I haven't decided what parts of this screen are going to be pink or have been pink, but that's why there is some element of pink for Papa here, for John Button. May he rest in peace. It's been difficult for Jenson. He's been picking up and getting on as best as he can. And I really hope, Jenson, that you can find a drive, whether that's with McLaren or elsewhere, and make sure it's a competitive one, because I think your Button's good enough for another world title. I personally think if Ferrari had not been so dominating, it was 2004-05 when Button finished third in the championship. If Ferrari had not been that dominating, Button could have been a title contender for a number of years. And you don't do that without some talent. So all the trolls out there that say, oh, he's not very good, he whinges about the balancer, it's always no grip, no balance. That's just his style. I really like watching the one turn in, one turn out sort of thing. Granted, sometimes there's nothing. I do something like more Hamilton style, where it's quite clearly just having the wheels driven off it. But I like Buttons more. I prefer Buttons more sort of one in, one out. So who knows? But it's a concern I have, and I will be watching this space very closely because I don't want to see him drop out of the sport like Rubens did, and I still don't like the way Rubens was just dropped out of the sport. Anyway, that's the end of this Velocity Kinetics video. We'll see what happens with Button. Hopefully some more content coming soon. But I can't get as much out as I want because of work commitments. But we'll chat again soon. Not Formula 1 related though. We'll go on to road cars. The next topic we'll cover is luxury vehicles with economical engines, and I'll explain more in the next video. But for now, have a good whatever time of day is where you are. We'll see you all soon. Velocity Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now.